Welcome, Skullheads! Christmas came early, or maybe super late, actually. The Analogue 3D is finally here, after numerous delays. You'd think after over 10 years of doing this, they'd figure out how to nail a launch date, but honestly, this has to be the biggest fumble they've ever had in terms of hitting their deadline, or rather, deadlines. This N64 clone plays games straight from the cartridge using FPGA-based hardware emulation, unlike software emulation, a la the Hyperkin Retron 5 and computer emulators. But you know, whatevs. I'm gonna open this sucker now. Finally, this bad boy is here. I've been waiting a long time for this one. As you can see, a suspect who has not been discovered yet, one of two people, not including me, cut it open. But fortunately, the contents inside are unscathed, so we will do a proper opening unboxing of this. All right, got the gloves on. Let's see. 3D OS and controller update required. Can I just open this thing first? Waited for over a year after pre-ordering for this thing. They want to distract me with nonsense like that. You think this would be a collector's item? I wonder if you're gonna sell this online, they'd be like, where's the card? Where's the yellow card? Yellow is definitely the theme right now. Ugh! They definitely put a ton of effort into their boxing. Look, 3D, very minimalist, and very consistent with the rest of their packaging. Woo! I got the black version because the white version was sold out. Ooh, pretty. We got some foam on the top. Wow. They always are on point with their boxes, but this is definitely a new level. My gosh. I mean, yeah, it looks like an N64. A lot of branding on it. HDMI, like, do they have to put that there? Bluetooth. Are these copyright things that you need to include on your console and Wi-Fi? 3D computer graphics system. Power. FPGA and analog 3D. We got those ports, rubber base. What do we got? Oh, we got an HDMI and we have power brick. Is there anything else in here? Oh. I don't know what this is. Gentle, easy. It's stuck. Why is it stuck? It's glued. Okay. Oh my goodness. Stickers that I will never use. They've never included one of these before. Analogue made cartridge cleaners. Let's see if I need those or not. Button feels clicky. Flap feels flappy. Oh, it comes with an SD card. That's handy. 2 USB slots, power, and HDMI. Time to give this thing a whirl. Been saving my 8-bit dope 64 Bluetooth controller for this. I tried it on my Mr. FPGA for a couple minutes, but I really want to try it with this. I wasn't sure, should I get the black? Obviously I got the black console, but black and white go together very well. If you want a proper deep dive on this, then I highly suggest My Life in Gaming. Also, I'd like to take a moment to shout out my 100th subscriber, A Silhouette It. Let thy coffers flow with the riches of the earth, thy offspring wax strong and valiant as warriors of old, and thy heart rejoice in the manifold blessings of wisdom and joy everlasting, and gratitude eternal from thy humble servant. Okay, let's play some gosh darn games on this thing. First thing I notice is the lack of lag. I like to think that lag is something I'm sensitive to, and using the 8BitDo wireless controller, I feel like everything is snappy and responsive. I think it also helps that there's an overclocking feature that can potentially boost frame rates and loading times. To be honest, I did compare games with this turned on and off, and I didn't notice an obvious difference. I think it's on a game-by-game basis and is dependent on whether or not that game caps the frame rate at 30 or 60 or whatever. The shaders are in 4K, so now you get really detailed CRT filters instead of just the usual analog console scan lines, as well as an HDR boost to compensate for the dimness they add, so that's new. But to be honest, the RetroTink 4K already has this capability and has way more options. But the great thing about the Analogue 3D is it's all there and ready to go. No need to plug in all these extra peripherals or switching controllers. It's right there at the click of a button. Now, you may notice that while the resolution is 4K, the game isn't actually being rendered in 4K, like the polygons and all that. The resolution is actually native to the system in games, so that would be either 240p or 480i, and then that is scaled up to 4K, the same way you would scale up any retro console with a scaler. So that means the image is getting scaled up 9 times. And then the 4K output allows for nicer filtering. But ultimately, it would have been so cool, if it were possible, to have the system render in 4K. But that just might be the limitations with using hardware FPGA emulation. There's a lot of pros and cons between hardware emulation and software emulation. Some people would argue those pros and cons are negligible and you should just do everything software, but this is about using cartridge, gosh darn it. Now the new Mod Retro M64 FPGA console promotional stuff seems to imply that you can have N64 games render polygons in 4K. That thing will be running an updated Mr. N64 core by Robert Pepe.
who is also the genius behind the Mister's PS1 core. Could just be a marketing flub, but either way, using a stronger FPGA chip than the DE10 Nano, I'm expecting great things and crossing my fingers that they might find a way to do it. Something I was excited to experience is that all my cartridges have worked really, really well. In the past with other analog consoles, I've had to really get in there and clean them with a cotton swab and rubbing alcohol, but the Analogue 3D has had virtually no issues reading my cartridges. One game didn't work, but I just used the included eraser and it works great now. To be honest, I should just be cleaning all those games anyways so it doesn't add grunge and carbon to the inside of the Analogue 3D. And this is my first time using a cartridge eraser too, and it's probably better to use than rubbing alcohol, which could potentially over time like degrade the pins. I never heard anyone say that, but it is like acidic, right? There's no way that long term that's good for it. But yeah, the eraser is pretty effective, so I'm gonna have to order some more. I don't think they sell them on their website, so it'd have to be like an Amazon thing. Also, the cartridges sit in the slot really firm. There's virtually no wiggle, unlike their consoles in the past. If you had the Super NT on a desk and bumped it, sometimes that'd be enough to reset the whole game. Or if you had a wired controller, yeah, it was bad news bears. I also stored all my cartridges in these plastic cases from Amazon over the last few years. It seems to have preserved them really well. Link in the description if you want access to those. I've had my games in storage for a while because my original N64 went missing after lending it to a friend almost 10 years ago. Alas, this serves as an almost great replacement, except it doesn't have an analog output. Really bugs the heck out of me that Analogue has stopped supporting its DAC. That thing was great for getting the Analogue Super NT and Mega SG to connect to CRTs. Also acted as a great way to have dual analog outputs on the Analogue NT, as if you'd ever actually do that. There's downscaling devices you can use to connect this to a CRT, but nothing beats a true analog output. I might just need to get an RGB modified N64 or just be satisfied using the Mister, or that mod Retro M64 apparently has another trick up its sleeve, but we'll get to that later. But yeah, looking at what this is capable of, I hate to be that guy, but the old adage is kind of true. Why don't you just get a Mister? But to that, I will say the Mister doesn't play cartridges, at least not yet. The upcoming Mister Multisystem 2 might be able to add cartridge capabilities. But it is nice to have a dedicated N64 machine like the Analogue 3D, and I don't understand why it would be so difficult to give DAC capabilities to it. It's something they've already built out the manufacturing for. Why can't they talk about the reasons it doesn't work or that they don't want to do it? Honestly, all the hate that people have thrown their way really boils down to their communication. Whether it's all these delays and not delivering on time, or not really communicating how this thing even worked with 4K until it inevitably launched, communicating about when they're going to restock or why they don't have stock. Stock doesn't seem to be an issue with a lot of other companies. Their Twitter doesn't communicate at all to people. They do communicate with email, but they send mixed signals and I don't know, some stuff that, I've received an email where they said they were working on fixing the Super NT composite connection because it's all desaturated. That's something no one really talks about. And they said they were going to update the DAC, but they've never done a firmware update for that thing as far as I've seen. And I do believe that this communication issue could give Mod Retro an upper hand in this new FPGA console war. Everyone's getting in on this console war now with FPGA stuff. Also, as I was mentioning before, they have another trick up their sleeve. The M64 will have an option for analog output, making it a great option for people looking for that. It's just too bad that thing looks so ridiculous. Compared to this sleek-looking masterpiece of console design based on the original N64, that looks like a children's toy. Ultimately, what it does under the hood is more important. But man, goofy. I guess they're going for that 90s vibe? I'm not sure. But yes, this actual analog feature, not Analogue the company, but Analogue the actual process of getting an analog signal to a CRT, gives me enough reason to purchase an M64, even though I already have this thing. But yeah, now that I think about it out loud, why even call the company Analogue if your systems don't produce an analog signal? I know it's a play on the word, but still. A little misleading, and misleading is kind of what they do these days. But I don't want to throw hate at Analogue. I'm not one of those people. I buy their systems. I like them. I like how they look. They're conversation pieces. By the way, don't ever buy one of these things thinking it will be a conversation piece. I promise you, almost no one will ever say, "Hey, what's that thing you got on your desk there? What is that? That's pretty cool. Oh, you play games too?" Never happened in my life. I don't even keep them out anymore because I don't know. People don't care. People don't know. People don't care. Life lesson for you. Another thing that would be cool with this system is if it would back up save files or even have save states like their Game Boy had. But who knows? Maybe they can figure that out with a system update. Or I guess we just use the save packs or the cartridges themselves that have batteries. Some of my save files on my consoles I see are there and others are not. So maybe the battery died or it actually needs a memory pack of some kind. But of course, I use the 8-bit DOE controllers, and they don't have memory options. But I should clarify, there is a memory pack feature on the console itself, at least. You'll just have to start fresh rather than using your old save files. So here I have all these analog consoles, and yeah, as cool and as you think it is to like play your cartridges like a music person plays vinyl, you really need to assess if that's the kind of person you are. And you know what? I don't know that I necessarily am. I have all these and they stay packed away. But when I do take the time to play them, it is a great experience. And I think having it narrowed down to just 1 game or 2 games or just a curated number of cartridges you have that you love and you play over and over again, that is worth the experience. And yes, something does happen when you put that cartridge in the console and you play it and you just focus on that 1 game, kind of like putting in a single album. You just listen to it all the way through. You're not distracted by the countless options like you would have on a Mr. FPGA or on an emulator device or whatever that is you're using, or on your Nintendo Switch, which is loaded with way too many games now. You just take out that Donkey Kong Country, you listen to the tunes, you turn it up, you play Ocarina of Time on your Analogue 3D, you turn up the volume, you get lost in that tiny little world. It did feel good playing these games on this. I had fun and I got lost just playing them and experiencing these old games. Even though, you know, it's not rendered in 4K, it didn't matter. The scan lines and all the filters they have, they help. They did kind of hurt my eyes, and sometimes I'd just go back and forth. So there's enough room to tinker, there's enough room to get lost in these games. Experience them as they were on your now giant CRT OLED screen thing. But yeah, I'll probably do like an analog episode and talk about all these consoles, or maybe an FPGA episode. I don't know. I got a lot of this stuff. I really do love this company and their branding. It's not for everybody, but now with the abundance of FPGA products out there, there's really something for everybody's needs. But now with people utilizing the Mr. cores for products like Taki Uran's upcoming disc playing PlayStation clone and Mod Retro's own FPGA N64 clone that's using that updated Mr. 64 core for the more powerful FPGA chip, Analogue is going to have to really innovate to compete. When they first came out, they were ahead of everybody in design and branding and marketing. It was cool. There wasn't really anything on the market like this that could play your old cartridges, but yeah, they're having to play catch up now. And I think the best way to play catch up is go back to making your console analog, you know, try to advance this FPGA technology to do like more of that overclocking stuff or render these polygons in a better resolution. I don't know. Or maybe they've hit a ceiling. Will the next console be a PlayStation clone when Taki's already got that figured out with his version? I think we need to see something like a Dreamcast clone, PS2, GameCube clone. I'd probably stay away from that level of Nintendo stuff though. I think they'll come after you. But we will see. They've released new versions of the Analogue NT, while there's also the Retro USB AVS available to purchase at the same time. So maybe they'll feel that it's still worth releasing a PlayStation clone alongside Taki's Superstation 1. It would probably still sell like hotcakes regardless. Their stuff always sells out except for that one not to be named console. So to be honest, it's probably going to be a PlayStation 1 clone that comes next, especially since they've already experimented with a disc drive and that aforementioned unnamed console. So I think a PlayStation clone they would make would be quite reliable, knowing that they've already tinkered with that kind of hardware. So there you go. I'm definitely going to keep this thing out, play some games with my kids. I need to get myself a Smash Brothers cartridge. Mario Kart still holds up. That game's a lot of fun. Nice to go back and play it without all the extra features that the games have these days. And I'm really curious to see what the M64 is going to be like, and the multi-system too, and the Superstation 1. And we've got a lot of stuff to play around with. Anyways, that's all from me today. See you in the next video. Bye.